Hello, this is the Cobra GCT320HD, which is a large garden cart with mesh sides. Great for carrying heavy objects and everything you need in the garden all around the garden. So this is how it arrives with you in this sturdy cardboard box. So what we're going to do is take all the packaging off and then we can unpack it and show you how to put it together. When you're unpacking your nuts and bolts, you'll notice that one of the bolts is just a little bit longer than the rest. That one is needed for a special job when you put the front axle together. So don't use that on everything else. It's only the one where you go through 3 layers of steel. So we've got it all unpacked now, ready to assemble. I've actually put some out of the way just so we can get the main framework. This is the base, and I've turned it upside down, so we're working on it that way. Of course, full instructions are supplied. It's a step-by-step, very easy to follow in there. So do use this, it does make life much easier to make sure you get it right. And tools, you only need a few basic tools. You need a 13mm spanner and a socket, and then a 19mm socket or spanner for attaching the wheels. We've turned it over, as I've said, got it all ready to assemble. Now it's important, and obviously you'll find this if you read the manual, that you get the frame the right way, because this is the rear, and the way we can tell the difference, we've got these 2 identical pieces of the framework here, which make up the rear, whereas this one you can see that's only got 1 rise there and a rise there. This is the front. So we're going to be working on the rear and starting by fixing the rear axle. So this is it, very easy to attach. This is going to go on here and line up like that. So that's what we're going to do there. And then there will be a nut and a bolt holding that into place. Now a little tip, because we've got to get our bolt up through there and up through this. If you drop it, it goes through there. So what you can do is just get a little piece of polythene or something similar just to put underneath there. So if I drop this bolt, it's not going to fall through, just makes it a little bit easier. So that will balance on there because it's flat, and then I can just get my bolt and feed it up like that, a washer onto it, and then one of the locking nuts. And I'm just going to put that on finger tight to start with, and then I can do the other one which goes on there. So I can put my little bag underneath, and that one just feeds up, and put that on there. And then we can tighten it up. So this is where you need your spanner. So the spanner will just go underneath onto the head of the bolt, and then I can use the socket to tighten that up. So they need to be tight because that's obviously the chassis that's going to hold the weight and the wheels, so that's in position like that. Then we've got 2 braces here, and these are left and right handed, so they go on so that these holes line up there, and that goes onto this shaft here. So before we can do that, we need to take off these 19mm nuts and the washer, and likewise here. And then it's just a case of, again, you can put that onto there, line it all up, put this one on here, and that will line up with the holes there. I'm going to do exactly the same, put my nuts and bolts in, get my little piece of polythene under there, and then we can get the first of the bolts in. With these, it's worth just doing them loose to start with, so that we can make sure that everything lines up. So I'm just going to pop them on, finger tight, and then we can put the second one in. You might just have to give it a little bit of a wiggle, push that into position, that lines it up if I do that, and there we go. And once we've got them all in position, then I can get the spanner and the socket and we can tighten those all up together. So that's everything tight and in place. So now we've got that chassis, we can put the wheels on. So we've got one for this one and one to go round here. So put them on obviously with the valve on the outside, so they literally just push on. There's the bearing there in the centre, so that just pushes over there like that. And then we put the flat washer on, and again this is the 19mm nut, so you need 19mm And then when that one's on, I can do the other side. So that one's on, nice and tight, and that spins, so that's good. I'm going to put this back one on here, and then we're going to show you how to assemble the front axle. Little tip is the nuts and bolts come attached, just to make it easier. Take them apart, ready for reassembly. So once we've done that with those, we can then start to assemble the front axle. And it's very simple, but again, do refer to the manual to make sure you get it right. There is a right and a wrong way to do it. So this is the front axle. For example, if I put it on that way, it is wrong. Because we want, these are the stubs here for the wheels. These little tabs need to be facing backwards. So when it sits on the frame like that, we've got to have the wheel stubs pointing out and these little bits pointing backwards. So make sure you do that. And then we're going to attach this exactly the same as we did at the back. So I'm going to slide my little bag in just to catch my nut and bolt, like that. Then washer on, and then we can put our first nut on there. And then I'm going to put the other one on and we can tighten those up so that's nice and secure, and then I can show you what we do with the rest of it. So this is the 13mm spanner and socket just to tighten those up. So we've got 3 pieces now that we can attach to this. So the first one is this short piece here that's got 3 holes in it. And this is actually going to be for part of the steering mechanism like that. So that's going to be attached like that on the underside. So the way to do this is to get your bolt up from the bottom, put on your washer and then your nut. Okay, and then I'm going to repeat that this side so it's underneath, hold that into place, bolt, washer, nut. Okay, so we need to tighten these just enough to hold it, but it's also got to have give in it. We don't want any wobble on it, but if you have them too tight, that will be really stiff and we need that to move freely. So the next piece that we can fit on is this piece just here. So this is going to be where we attach the handle to pull it. And we can see it's got this long piece which goes over there like that, and then the other one fits on the bottom. So we need to take out this little split pin and the washer. So just squeeze that together, pull it out and take the washer off, and then we can pop that onto that like that. Now what we're going to do with this one is we're going to just attach it at the rear one here. So that's the one we're going to attach initially. We will do that one in a second. So get the nut and bolt on there, pop that on with our nut, and we can tighten that one up with the spanners. Okay, so not too tight, but tight enough. And then I'm going to get the washer and the split pin, and that then put that on there and pop the split pin, just squeeze it together, push it through, and then you can open that up like that so that that can't pull out. And then the final piece is this one here. This is a brace just to hold everything together. 2 holes on one end, 1 on the other. So this one is going to line up, and it's going to go underneath, and the bolt is going to go through all 3 like that. When you get your nuts and bolts out, one of them, as you can see here, is just slightly longer. So we need to keep the longer one for this because it's going through 3 pieces. So don't use that on any of the others. So we get this piece in here. I'm going to cheat by putting that in there, and then we're going to just put it through like that, and then the washer and the nut. Okay, so I'm not going all the way with that at this stage, but I want to hold it in place. And then finally what we do here is line these up. Now if they don't line up, don't worry, you've not done anything wrong. It's because you just need to give it a little gentle persuasion. It's just the steel is quite springy. It's just a case, you get everything ready, just give it a bit of a pull back into position, and then we can put on the washer, the nut, and one final one goes in there. And then we can give these 2 and that final one a tighten up. So just finally give that a bit of a tweak, not over tight again, because this is a moving mechanism here. As you can see, that all moves beautifully and will just glide you around corners. Of course, what we need to do now is put the front wheels on. So just take off these 19mm nuts and then put the wheels on like we did at the back. Now we've got the wheels on and they're all spinning really smoothly, we can attach the handle that you pull it with. So this is it here. Comes in two parts simply so that if you want to, you can take this R pin out, take that apart very simply, and it means if you want, that can go onto a little lawn tractor and you can tow it around the garden. But if you're towing it by hand, then this is how you need it. So I'm just going to pop that back together like that and pop that clip through there which holds it into place. So it literally only takes a matter of seconds to put this together and take it apart. So when we're going to put this in position, that's the way you want it, with the R clip uppermost. If you've got it upside down like this, you'll notice there's this plastic piece just here. So that is going to slide onto this and then go into there. So it acts as like a bush. So that goes into there. And what we want to do is get this long nut and bolt just here. And then we're going to push this through here. That's what's going to happen, but it's got to go through there. So we need to just line everything up, put that into there, give it a bit of a wiggle, and hopefully that will come out the other end. And then we can tighten it with a nut and bolt. So handlebar on, what we're going to do is now put the sides on. That's easier to do that on the floor. So we're just going to lift it down, turn it the right way, and we can show you how to attach the sides. Fixing the mesh sides is very easy, but there is a right and a wrong way to put them on. So as you can see here, they're going to be held on with these R clips that line through the bracket like that. So when we put them on, we need to sit our mesh side on like that. So in other words, if you do it the wrong way, like that, you're going to have a gap. We don't want that gap. We literally sit it on like that. So all parts on the outside, and then we can just slide that through like that. Just give it a little bit of a pull out, just to take the tension off, and it will slide in very easily. So we can hold them more or less into position while we do that, and then let that one go down, and we can then put on one of the sides. So again, we do it so that we just sit it into position like that, and then that will slide down there, and one in there. Just put that down for the second. Front is the one with the section cut out like that, so that we can put the handles in. Again, make sure it goes in the right way. Slide that in there and there. And then the fourth side. So it literally only takes a minute or two to put these on. So if you do need to take them off to lay something large across it, then it's not a big job to take them on and off. And then what we do, we can just pull them up like that, and we can just lift them and lock them into position like that. So the back one up, just give it a little lift, and drop that handle down, and it holds everything into place. And there you have it. A trolley, carry loads in it, very manoeuvrable. You can tow it behind a garden tractor if you want to, or pull it by hand. With the pneumatic tyres, it's really easy to pull, even on gravel and on grass. So great for all sorts of things in the garden.
Remember to register your Cobra online at www.cobragarden.co.uk. Always have your Cobra serviced regularly. Check the website for your nearest dealer.